Cowboys Pregame Live is brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
Inside the friendly confines of AT&T Stadium, the Dallas Cowboys return home after 2 straight road bouts, now beginning a streak of 4 straight battles with the NFC North, starting with the Detroit Lions here in Week 7 of the NFL season. From the Star in Frisco, we welcome you in to Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort, alongside Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton, soon to be joined by Nick Eatman and Haley Sutton. They're both out at AT&T Stadium. We'll hear from both of them soon. But the Cowboys not only returning home, but they return an old friend. How about Dak Prescott right back into the fold? QB1 is back after missing 5 games with a fracture in his thumb, ligament in his thumb. I mean, it was a couple different things. But let's just say it's his throwing thumb that was injured in that season opener against Tampa Bay, and he is back into the fold this week. Barry, how big of a jolt could this potentially be for a Cowboys team that comes in at 4-2?
It could be a huge jolt. I mean, look, Dak is back, and I'm interested to see what he has in store for us. I mean, look, this team has had success in his 5-game absence. They leaned on their strengths, which is the ground game, the defense, and taking care of the football. So I'm interested to see how Kellen Moore is going to attack this Detroit Lions defense. Is he going to keep it conservative with the run and holding on to your defense, or is he going to take the governor's tag off and let Dak go to work against a subpar Detroit defense?
And the key word that you said there, Barry, was could. That means that it might happen.
Yeah.
Being that the last time that the Dallas Cowboys saw Dak Prescott on the field was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. He went 14 of 29, 1 interception, 2 sacks. The only score of the game came in the 9 minutes of the first quarter with a field goal, Nate. With a field goal. So we're hoping that you see the Dak from last year, not the Dak from the 2022 season opener.
What we need from our stud, our number 1 quarterback, is improvement in the third down situation. We're around 32%. We need to get that up in the mid-40s, around 45%. And we need to continue to run that ball and make the plays that I used to see when you was a rookie.
Ooh. The majority of Cowboys Nation very happy Dak Prescott's back in the fold. But, Isaiah, there are some out there that are looking back to Week 1 and just how poor that performance really was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I ask you, can Dak Prescott put that behind him? Because he's been able to stew on it for 5 weeks now coming into this matchup, so it's a little bit different.
I hope so, and I think that he can. I think the injury that obviously he sustained put him on the sideline for, now 5, almost 6 weeks. So I think that he has to go out there and try to find some kind of resurgence from what he did in years prior to, because like you mentioned, Week 1, that was not the showing they wanted, but this team has evolved. This team has grown since that time.
So let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, what type of history is DeMarcus Lawrence trying to repeat today against the Detroit Lions? We'll tell you that, and we'll go out to Nick Eatman at AT&T Stadium when we come back with more Cowboys Pregame Live. Back here with Cowboys Pregame Live from the Star in Frisco, leading you into kickoff between the Detroit Lions and your Dallas Cowboys from AT&T Stadium. Back here with Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. We just talked about DeMarcus Lawrence and kind of looking at what history he's going to repeat. We're going to save that for a little bit later in the show when we talk to Nick Eatman out at AT&T Stadium. So let's take an opportunity to look at the matchup that he's got with this Lions offense. An offense that comes in one of the highly ranked offenses in the NFL. 2nd in total yards. They're 3rd in points per game. 2nd in yards per carry, but they've also got a chance to throw the football a little bit with Jared Goff. He's had one of the better seasons throughout his career, nearly 1,400 yards, and he's throwing 11 touchdown passes compared to just 4 interceptions. He has not had a multiple interception game this season. Plus, he does it to a number of different guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown as a wide receiver, T.J. Hockenson starting to emerge as one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and they've got a couple guys on the outside like Josh Reynolds there as well that could also be added into the fold. So, gentlemen, I ask you, how will the Lions aim to stretch this secondary, Barry, because they've been able to stretch the teams they've played so far?
Yeah, this will be a challenge, but I don't think it'll be a challenge for the entire secondary. I know they have St. Brown on the outside, and he is a legit pass catcher. But Diggs and Anthony Brown, I think they can handle him on the outside. The true test, in my opinion, will be Hockenson in the center versus the safeties and the linebackers for the Dallas Cowboys. Hockenson, he's a mismatched nightmare out there. He's a big body, 6'5" tight end who can use his body out there against smaller DBs. And if you try to walk a linebacker down on him, he has that speed to run around him. And when you get to the red zone, like I said, he's like a center in basketball. He's going to go up and get that rebound against a smaller defender out there. So to me, the true matchup is between Hockenson, those linebackers, those safeties. Hopefully they'll be able to handle their business.
You can shut down this entire Detroit Lions running offensive scheme by simply shutting down their run. Yeah. They want to get the ball to Jamal Williams. They want to get the ball on the ground. They've done a great job. They are very much so like the Dallas Cowboys have passed. Yeah. All right, not necessarily the Dallas Cowboys we've seen this year, but if Dallas Cowboys have passed where they were a run first, play action pass type of offense, and if you can shut down their running attack, then you don't have to worry about these passes down the field. You don't have to worry about Hockenson. You don't have to worry about St. Brown and all these other weapons that they have, because Jared Goff, if you force him to just simply pass the ball, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to catch the ball.
See, it's really interesting, too, because 7th in passing yards throughout this season are the Detroit Lions, but they're also 7th in rushing, too. They're top 10 on both sides. You talk about a balanced attack. That's one way they've done it. And DeAndre Swift has been a big part of that throughout his only 3 games. That's a big talking point here. He's only played in 3 games. He was expecting to come back this week. Now he's not expected to play. Looks like he's going to be inactive here in week 7. So will his absence switch things on the ground for Detroit, because they've still been able to run the football even without Swift in the fold?
Yeah, I think without Swift, it's a huge blow, because like you saw on that full screen, he was averaging 8.6 yards an attempt, and that's unheard of, Isaiah, from a running back perspective. But they still do have a workhorse back there, and that's Jamal Williams. This guy is leading the team in rushing touchdowns with 6 touchdowns. He's still averaging 4 or 5, I believe, on the ground per touch. So this guy is a hard worker. He's a grinder out there, and if you don't get a hold of him early on, he can grind your defense to sleep.
Yeah, you would love to have DeAndre Swift out there, and that's Detroit Lions, that is. Not Dallas Cowboys. They're happy that Swift's not going to be out there. But the thing is, with Jamal Williams, he is just as much of a threat. He's not the big play threat that you see with DeAndre Swift, but this guy's going to be a one-cut coming downhill. You better make sure that you wrap him up, because if not, his forehead is going to be in your chest.
You got plenty of opportunities to slow down the run throughout this season, but that's really been the number one thing that's been a bugaboo for this Dallas defense. That's why this is a tougher matchup, I think, for this defense overall. And like I said a minute ago, we're going to ask Nick Eatman about that with DeMarcus Lawrence and company. The pass rush has been there, but Mike McCarthy said it this week. Teams don't want to throw on the Cowboys because they want to run the football. When we come back, we talk to Nick out at AT&T Stadium with more Cowboys pregame live, continuing in just a moment.
Yeah, I honestly don't look at that kind of stuff. In my experience, the best way to is just be like this at all times and treat every week the same. Don't try to change up a ton of stuff when you lose, when you win. If you're the same guy every day and we can be the same team consistently, then those things take care of themselves.
What can this offense do now that it couldn't do in week 1 when Dak lost his coach?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously we're still a work in progress offensively. So I think the biggest thing is just efficient drives and working the ball down the field and scoring points. So, we've done some decent things the last few weeks, and we're still working and finding new ways to make plays offensively.
And the team's coming off they've struggled defensively, but they're coming off a bye. What do you expect? A little bit of anything?
Yeah, a little bit of anything. I mean, you obviously know they've had 2 weeks to look at us, so I've got to imagine there'll be some things out there Sunday that we haven't seen on the tape, which that's why you have your rules and your base rules for all your plays. We call them training camp rules. So a lot of times that kind of takes care of it, but I'm sure we'll see something we haven't seen yet.
This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys hold a 15-11 all-time meeting record against the Detroit Lions, and the Lions have not won in AT&T Stadium since 2011. Let's go out to Arlington and hear from the fifth member of our crew, Nick Eatman, for the first time today. And Nick, good morning. Glad you're with us. And hey, it's a beautiful morning here in Texas. I mean, it's like 73 degrees. Is the roof or the doors going to be open there at AT&T Stadium?
Doesn't look like that's the case right now, but I'll tell you this, though. For some reason, it's about as cold as it probably is in that studio right now. Not sure what the AC's blowing in here, but no, roof is closed, the doors are closed, but there's some kind of cooler energy in here. You know, Dak's a pretty cool guy. Maybe he brings that kind of factor in with him.
No, that's a great point, and it is cold in this studio. You know how that is. That's why we wear the jackets, because we have to, or else we're going to freeze while we're doing these shows. Now, I will say specifically with Dak, you talk about being a cool cat. Well, he's got Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. Him coming back into the fold is certainly something that Kellen Moore has been waiting for. But how could the play calling change now that Dak is back, or is it going to be very similar to what we saw with Cooper Rush at the helm?
I think that's the big question that everybody wants to figure out. I hope it's relatively similar to what we've seen before because, you know, I think one thing that we kind of forget is that Dak has never played with the defense like this. Yes, week one against Tampa, but, you know, Tom Brady kind of threw him off a little bit. That wasn't the best we've seen this defense. I think they've all learned. Kellen Moore's learned. Dak has learned. Everybody has learned kind of how to play with this type of defense, and you need to play smart. I hope the play calling is similar, but I will say this. When Cooper Rush gets hit and in the pocket, he's throwing it away or maybe taking a sack. I think with Dak, he's obviously got more running ability, more strength. Hopefully you can see extending plays a little bit more. But as for the play calling, I wouldn't change it too much. We'll see what Kellen does, though.
Yeah, it's certainly a talking point. You mentioned that defense. DeMarcus Lawrence has been a big part of that defense. 3 sacks this season, all coming against the New York Giants back in Week 3. The most previous time out of the 3 times in his career that he's had a 3-sack game came in 2018 at home against the Detroit Lions. He's going to look to replicate history with that today. How big of an impact could he play on that defense against that Lions front?
Well, you always want to have that second guy, and I know he probably wouldn't call himself that second guy, but really when you're looking at a pass rush, it starts with Micah, and that's what the way it's been. But when you get that second, third player, Dorrance Armstrong's also throwing into that mix. That's what's made them so good. But I think one of the underrated parts of Tank's game is his ability to stop the run. When they're running on the outside, and I know the Lions have some issues there with their injury, but they still run the ball very effectively. That's going to be the key. He's got to be able to stop the run on that edge, but when it's a chance to get a sack, he'll get in there. Let's just see how Dan Quinn mixes it all up with some of the pass rushers today.
That trio of the Cowboys pass rushers, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, going to try and go after a Lions front that's only allowed 7 sacks to this point in the season. Now, going to the offensive side of the football one more time, Dalton Schultz, he's been inactive a couple games throughout the season, looks healthy in practice, had a great injury report throughout the week. Any updates on his availability moving into Week 7?
Looks like he's going to play in this game, and also, you know, that's been Dak's guy. I mean, a lot of the comfort level that I think goes with Dak goes with having a tight end there, and Schultz has been that guy. So you wonder, you know, he caught 7 passes, I believe, that first game against Tampa. You wonder if they'll get that connection again. But one thing Mike McCarthy did talk about this week is figuring out how to keep that arrow pointed up for his young rookies there, you know, with Hendershot and, of course, Jake Ferguson. Those 2 players are coming off, I think, their best game last week. So we'll see what happens when you get Schultz back in the mix and all 3 of them going together.
Yeah, multiple tight ends back into the fold, but it's good to see Dalton Schultz back and healthy as well. Nick Eatman out at AT&T Stadium. We'll check in with him later in the show. When we come back here on Cowboys Pregame Live, how did a special connection between starter and backup potentially save the Cowboys season? We'll go back out to AT&T Stadium and hear from Haley Sutton when we come back.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Playing quarterback this week. Me.
Mike has got it.
I just got to take over. They
Y'all
asked
go
me.
start with Mike. Go ahead. Y'all start with
They
Mike.
asked me to step up and,
You want to ask the first question? Yeah, you ask the first question, Dak.
Oh, no, y'all go ahead. I'll think of a good one.
Michael, will it hurt your feelings if the first 20 questions are for Dak?
yeah, because I got about 5 before I hit this lunch break, and I got to get a post-lunch nap in, so,
Lions hungry.
yeah.
Micah, what can you take from the Eagles game in terms of, like, what did that film teach you about your game and how you can respond to the coming opponents?
You know, I just got to own in on my craft and get better this week. I personally made self-adjustments, analyzed with coaches. I sat down with them on things that I could do to be better and how I could fix my game. And this week, you know, I'm just looking to hush everything up, you know.
Lions run game.
I think they got a great front. I mean, all the way around, a dominant run game. They got a great group of backs. You know, and we got to go out there and just try to stop the run and, you know, be resilient out there.
The Cowboys enter this matchup with the Detroit Lions at 4-2, and a big reason for that was Cooper Rush. He won 4 of his 5 starts this season for the Cowboys after taking over for Dak Prescott, who was injured in the season opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a truly special moment for Dak Prescott as the backup to help Cooper Rush get to that point, and that bond has helped save the Cowboys season by winning those 4 matchups. And with more on that, we go back out to AT&T Stadium and hear from Haley Sutton.
Well, guys, there's no shortage of excitement surrounding the return of QB1. Dak Prescott has been behind me all morning getting up some passes. He looks like the Dak of old, but the journey to get back to the field hasn't been an easy one for Prescott. We spoke to him this week about what it meant to return behind center.
Dak is coming over after getting that hand hit on that Shaq Barrett play.
He headed into the locker room. He's currently getting x-rays on his right hand, but is questionable to return.
Week 1 of the 2022 season didn't end as planned for America's team.
Well, I think that's, I don't have any more information than that. I mean, it's a significant hand injury. We'll know more in the morning.
That injury keeping Prescott sidelined for 6 weeks, watching and waiting for his chance to return behind center.
As disappointing as it was really, really fun and a great time for me just to grow and to learn more about this team that, honestly, I hadn't been able to see from that perspective.
That moment is finally here.
Obvious questions. How's Dak look?
Like Dak, he's back. And when he came out today, when he was in 2 minutes, I said, oh yeah, welcome back to the show. This is your mind, right?
Now, from a throwing perspective, it seems like Dak hasn't missed a beat. A lot of that he credits to sticking around his team during his injury and staying grounded in what's gotten him this far.
I'm completely internally motivated, got so many things that I've been through in life. The last thing I care about is somebody else's opinion. If I cared about that at any point in my life, I doubt that I'd be here. I doubt I'd do the things that I'm doing. I doubt I'd approach every day like I do.
And it's not just QB1 who's excited about his return. Just check the energy in the locker room.
He's for sure made some throws, big-time throws, one-on-ones, team periods. He feels confident, and he's excited to be back out there with us. Real competitors, they itch to get back on the field, and I think that's why his rehab was so intense. I've never seen him take a day off.
I'll say last week was the first time that during the game I felt like that I had that real itch, that I felt, in the sense that I could go do something, I could go out there and make a difference. Obviously going into this week, knowing that I felt that way last week, I'm right where I need to be.
As we say welcome back to Dak, we also say thank you to Cooper Rush. Because without Coop, this return wouldn't be as sweet.
To line up there at starting quarterback for the Cowboys on a Sunday in the NFL is pretty awesome, and definitely appreciate it. It is just ball when you're out there. I think when you sit on the sidelines for a while and watch these great players do it, you can kind of be like, oh my gosh, can you do it? Can you do it? But you get out there and you're like, okay, I remember how to play football.
Just knowing that the way he prepares, the way that he goes, that he approaches each and every day, how mentally tough he is and how mentally sharp he is, I knew that he was going to go out there and put our team in a position to do it exactly what they did.
Oh, and just in case there's any confusion on that so-called quarterback controversy.
Just to be clear, you are starting Sunday.
I am.
I think anyway, so yeah.
In 3 starts against the Detroit Lions, Dak Prescott has never lost. He's tossed for 8 touchdowns against the Lions, and his last time out, he threw for 444 yards and 3 scores. We will see what he can do today, but the big news, Dak Prescott back behind center. Here at AT&T Stadium, I'm Haley Sutton. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you very much, Haley. Back here with Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback from the Star in Frisco. I'm Kyle Yeomans. And gentlemen, she said it best. Dak is back. There you go. That's the biggest storyline of the week. And everybody's thumbs up from here on out. Everybody's got a thumbs up, including Dak Prescott. It was funny when we were sitting there talking to him earlier in the week, and he was like, are you starting? Are you going to start? And he said, I am. And then he kind of remembered in the back of his head that he's not the head coach and he's got to get back out there. He said, at least I think I am. Yeah. I think I'm starting as we look at what's happening at AT&T Stadium behind us. But let's talk about Dak Prescott specifically because he's going up against a Detroit defense that isn't very good statistically. One of the bottom teams in the league, especially in yards and points allowed per game, and also sacks. They've only had the 7 sacks so far this season. No pride. The pride has gone out the window for the Lions defense and a team that has not played well defensively, but they do like to blitz. They'll get after teams in terms of blitzing at the quarterback level. They're going to try and get after Dak Prescott a little bit here. Isaiah, how can Dak combat that the way that he has really well throughout his career?
Well, the first thing he can do is come back against the worst team in the league in terms of defense. Coming against the Detroit Lions is the team that I would have circled to come back and play against as well. He's done a really good job of going against the blitz. He knows his protections. He knows where his hot reads are. He knows how to get the ball to receivers when these guys decide to try to heat him up. And defensively, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator and former Dallas Cowboy defensive back, he's going to try to bring pressure from the outside. He has a double A gap scheme that he likes to try to bring, but that's going to be washed out pretty much by the interior offensive lineman. But where you can really make things difficult for Dak is bringing those blitzes off the edge, those zone blitzes where you're bringing a nickel back and you're trying to rush linebackers out there to cover where Dak would like to try to have as an outlet. So Dak's going to have his head on a swivel a little bit, but I think this offensive line has done a great job of protecting not only Cooper Rush, they will continue to do so for Dak as well.
What I think your partner Aaron Glenn is looking for is that rust that they think Dak will have. But what we can do, only 2 people they got is Brockers and Aiden Hutchinson, the young rookie, the first-round pick. He's got 3 sacks, so they have to blitz. But I tell you what, like you said, if they take care of their business in the middle and let him worry about the outsides and our receivers get open, we should be okay.
And defensively, the Lions have not been much better against the run either. And the Cowboys have gone back and forth with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard this season. Why could the ground game for the Cowboys continue to open things up? And should they stick with it a little more compared to what they have in the past?
I've said it before. I'm going to continue to say it. Dak Prescott is a play-action quarterback. That's not to say that he can't sit back and throw the ball 40 times. We've seen it before. But this offense of the Dallas Cowboys is most effective when Zeke and Pollard are both getting their fair share of carries. If this offensive line can continue to create holes and take advantage of a very, very lax defense of the Detroit Lions, I think that Dak will be able to come back and be the guy that everybody knows that he can be.
And let's don't forget about those naked boots and those sprint outs, because that's when he was at his best, when he was early in his career. And if we can keep the run game going, if Tony Pollard and Zeke can continue to do what they do, and our left tackle and left side as a whole continue to open holes, we should be okay.
Is this the game where the offense gets back on track compared to what they had previously?
Oh, this is the game. I mean, CVS, Walmart, whatever pharmacy you want to go to, this Detroit's defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is obviously their statistics show that we should score a lot of points. I think this is the game where we probably have 150 yards on the ground and Dak's able to get 300 up in the air, and give a nice little thumbs up at the end of the game.
That would be fantastic. I think everybody in Cowboys Nation would be happy with 150 on the ground and 300 through the air. That would be exactly what the doctor ordered. Dr. Newton getting things done in the pharmacy today here on Cowboys Pregame Live. When we come back, some of you may be thinking, what about CeeDee Lamb? What's going on with Lamb? Well, we'll tell you, and we'll tell you what else you could be looking forward to with more Pregame Live.
Obvious questions. How's Dak look?
Like Dak, he's back.
What makes you say he looks like Dak and then he's back? What did he do out there today to make you say that he's back?
He's for sure made some throws, big-time throws, one-on-ones, team periods. He feels confident, and overall he's excited to be back out there with us. And that's ultimately the best feeling ever.
I know you appreciate what Cooper was able to do and what this team was able to do with him out, but is there persistent excitement with him coming back about now we're all ready to ride and let's see how this goes?
We're always excited, especially when we get one of our troopers back, and definitely at the quarterback position is big. You know, in the league, in this league, it's definitely the offense is ran through the quarterback, and to have Dak back is, you know, it's huge. You know, practices, you know, up tempo, same as, you know, as with Coop, but with Dak, it's just like, you know, he's very passionate about this game.
CD, when Dak was last playing, Gallup wasn't out there, the offensive line hadn't had the same settling. What can y'all do now that you couldn't do week 1 as an offense?
We can grow. I feel like this is the only opportunity that we've had MG and Dak back. We're still waiting on, you know, a couple guys as like Tyron. You know, we still trying to get all our pieces back, but ultimately just do what we have with the pieces we have, and you know, and I feel like I have great confidence in everybody in this locker room, and I know they're going to put their best foot forward every Sunday, especially this one.
Cowboys Pregame Live was brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. SWBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
Wrapping up the television side of Cowboys Pregame Live here in Week 7. Cowboys-Lions coming up. And coming up on the internet side of things, if you want to go over to DallasCowboys.com, we'll be on there in a matter of moments, breaking down Dak Prescott back in the passing attack. Which receiver needs to step up for the Cowboys?
I'm going to say it has to be CeeDee Lamb. And his game is tailor-fit for this game because the Detroit Lions defense, they're averaging giving up 7.7 yards per catch. So this is the game I think he highlights, as well as Dak Prescott. I'm looking forward to an offensive display.
Also on the internet side of things, we've got Stephen Jones coming up. We've got inactive list to get through and plenty more to come for Barry, Nate, Isaiah, Haley, and Nick out at AT&T Stadium. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game, everybody. Cowboys-Lions coming up at noon.
I think, you know, that's Dak's greatest leadership quality is just his relatability. You know, I think everyone in his locker room can relate to him. I mean, I think that's what makes him the leader he is, and his selfishness and selfless-ish. I can't even say it. I'm not gonna try. But you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I mean, not a diva. He gonna get down and dirty. He's gritty. He gonna talk all that. So I mean, couldn't ask for a better quarterback.
Do you see him being motivated for how Week 1 win and all the stuff that's been said since then? Is that part of him being motivated?
I mean, I think you could say that, but I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, he was going to be motivated regardless. I mean, obviously, he wants to put his best football on film, and I mean, I think also you can't just dwell on the past so much. I think you got to, you know, move forward and as long as you're doing your job, you know, in the future, then you don't have to worry about the past.
Has he heard it, but just all the junk that's being said, you know, everything, you think has he heard any of that, you know? You've heard it.
I mean, you said it. The junk being said is junk, so what you do with junk, you clean it up and throw it away. You don't sit there and go through it.
How do you wrap your mind, though, around, like, why that happens with him and see him so often?
What do you mean?
You know, why there's so much talk about Dak in that sense?
You know why. You know why.
From the Star in Frisco and the Globe Life Studios, welcome back into Cowboys Pregame Live. It's Week 7 of the NFL season. The Cowboys getting ready to take on the Detroit Lions at AT&T Stadium. Back here with a trio of former Cowboys, Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. If you're on the internet side of things, I say this every time, you're our friends. That's how it is. We see you every week. You're in the right place at the right time. You know how to go to the go-to game day crew here from the Star. But let's get to the inactive list, the guys who are not going for the Cowboys today. Jabril Cox, Will Grier, Nashawn Wright, Marquise Bell, Devin Harper, names that we've seen on this list before. That bottom name is a little troubling. Neville Gallimore, inactive for the Cowboys today. There were some, I guess you could say, cryptic tweets earlier in the week from Neville Gallimore where he was thanking people. It's been a great ride, and then he scrubbed the Dallas Cowboys from his bio on Twitter. Not on Instagram, but on Twitter, if that's something to maybe look at. Not sure why he's inactive, but how big of a loss is it for that Cowboys defense?
I think it can be a huge loss because, to me, Neville Gallimore as well as Odigizua, they were the inside run stuffers. Those were the guys that kind of made sure things weren't going up the gut. Now, these past couple games, teams have had success running the ball up the gut against the Dallas Cowboys, so maybe that's a part of why he's inactive. But I'm pretty much shocked with this scenario right here. I thought he was one of your better defensive tackles coming into this game.
I'm not one to speculate, Kyle, but I know you brought up some of the things that took place earlier this week, and then you factor that into the fact that he's not active today. Trade deadline's coming up. Might be some things kind of brewing over there on the inside of the Cowboys, but to your point, they're going to miss him in the inside, but also Odigizua has been doing a heck of a job getting him penetration this year.
Yeah, you talk about him as a penetration guy. I wanted him to be a nice two-gap guy at Oklahoma. We need to stop the run. Tristan Hill, you got to step up today. Bohannon, you got to step up today because your boy's out. But, hey, I don't do Twitter, so whatever.
Nate's on there. He just doesn't look at it as intently as we do. But I will say, not having Neville Gallimore would hurt for the Cowboys, and hopefully everything's okay with him moving forward because, like you said, we don't want to speculate, but there have been some things, some breadcrumbs leading up to this point. Hopefully everything is good with Gallimore moving forward. Speaking about a guy who's been maybe a little under the radar this year, Jalen Tolbert is active today. And it's only the third time he's been active this season. 1 catch in 2 games so far. Isaiah, where would your concern lie with Jalen Tolbert right now as a third-round pick who really hasn't been a true factor at any point this season?
I've been concerned. I'm concerned today. I'm concerned for previous weeks. I mean, he's a third-round pick, and now he's active for the third game in, week 7? So, I mean, that's very concerning. Obviously, you would like for him to have a more of an impact, whether it be actually on the offense or whether it be on the special teams. I think he is active by default today simply because Simi Fehoko went on IR. So I don't even know if he really earned that opportunity. I think he's more of a kind of a depth chart type of movement today.
I just feel like, I feel like this right here. When you are top 3 picked, you have to get on the field. You have to be effective. And I'm with you all the way, Isaiah. You have to be on special teams. You're too big of a guy, too great of an athlete not to be contributing to this team.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I tell all young players when they come into the league, make sure you make that special team coach your best friend out there. I mean, I don't care what you do offensively or defensively, but the quickest way to get on the field as a rookie is through special teams. And hopefully he can contribute in some way, some form, or some fashion in today's game against Detroit.
Speaking on the pass catchers a little bit more, Dallas enters this game ranked 27th in the NFL in passing yards per game. So, Barry, you said it right before we got off the television side. CeeDee Lamb has to step up, but what are the true expectations for the wide receivers now that Dak's back in the fold?
I think each wide receiver will step up in their game. I feel as though we're looking at a guy like, CeeDee Lamb out there, Noah Brown, all those guys out there. They're going against a secondary that's not very good. This secondary is giving up 7.7 yards per catch out there. So that's kind of the bottom of the league out there. So if I'm these receivers, they got to get in tune with Dak. He's missed 5 weeks, so that chemistry is going to be off a little bit. But I see as though these receivers having a big game this afternoon.
I hope they have a big game. You talk about a turn of the tide. Defensively, Dan Quinn's turned this entire defense around from the worst in the league to the best in the league. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, offensively, we go from the best in the league last year to now seemingly one of the worst in the league. So Kellen Moore is going to be happy to see his guy, number 4, back at the helm because he can now throw the ball down the field. Hopefully have the running game so Dak can be the best play-action quarterback in this league. And I think that today is a day that he starts getting his offense going in the trajectory that he liked.
Was Dalton Schultz inactive?
He's active. He's there.
Oh, there we go. Dalton Schultz. Hey, that's his blanket. That's who he'll throw the majority of these passes to when he get in a pickle. So Dalton Schultz, glad to have you back.
So let's talk about those tight ends a little bit here because these guys are back in the fold. It's really the first time all year that you feel like this offense is fully healthy, maybe with the exception of Tyron Smith at left tackle. But Tyler Smith has been playing well. These tight ends are all healthy too. Jake Ferguson had his first career touchdown reception last week. Dalton Schultz still trying to find a rhythm, but he's been banged up. Nate, you mentioned how happy you are to have Schultz back in the fold, but how could Dallas use these tight ends effectively?
Blocking to make sure that, if you can block well, I think you can play for this team because as Dalton was out, Jake Ferguson and Hendershot, they did a nice job of blocking. They're not great, but they're fighters, and if we come up and block today and try to get time and possession with these tight ends, along with the knowledge of Schultz, we should be okay.
It's great to have options, Nate. It's great to have options. Dalton Schultz is the man. He's been the man. Obviously, he hasn't been that this year, but let's not forget he is the franchise player for this organization right now in terms of tag is concerned. So you like to see a resurgence of him. We know that he is a Dak guy, much like Dennis Houston was all preseason. A Dak guy. Dalton Schultz is a Dak guy. So you can best believe that him along with Ferguson are going to have some show, and then you like to sprinkle in a little bit of Hendershot as well.
Like
a little shot of Hendershot.
Without a doubt, but Schultz coming back is definitely going to be great for the passing game. He's Dak's security blanket out there. But I'm going to double down on what Nate said. They're going to have to block well in this game because like we talked about earlier, Detroit's defense, they love the blitz. And you've got to have guys that can blitz and get max protection for a guy back there like Dak Prescott to make sure he has time. So tight ends, make sure you block your butt off today.
This is going to be so fun in the trenches. I got to start with Nate Newton on this one because this matchup back and forth between the Cowboys defensive front, 47 negative plays forced. That's third in the NFL. Detroit has only allowed 20 negative plays. That's tops in the NFL or fewest in the NFL. So it's a matchup that is a little under the radar, but it's trenches v. trenches. Nate, when you're looking at these two teams going up against each other, how could Dallas challenge that Lions offensive line?
With movement. I mean, they're good athletes. They're the second best offensive line we've played. They like to get guys going down here like Jameson, Jamal Williams going down here. But I tell you like this right here. If you play your gaps and stay at home and allow your linebackers to come down and hit guys for no gain, we should be okay.
Physicality. That's what this team, the Detroit Lions, is. They're built off of being physical. Their head coach, Dan Campbell, obviously former Dallas Cowboy. This guy wants to come out and bust you in your mouth. Best believe him coming back home, he's going to want to enforce his will. So the Dallas Cowboys defensive front is going to have to be physical, hit these guys, get a two-gap, drive them back, and then, as Nate said, allow our linebackers to try to get some penetration and stop these guys in the backfield before they can get going.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like you guys said, this Detroit offensive line, it's really good. They've only allowed 7 sacks the entire season. But I'm going to have to give the advantage to the Dallas Cowboys because they come in waves. All right, you talk about the first wave, you got Parsons, you got Lawrence, you got those guys on the inside. Then you got the second wave with Armstrong. You got all those guys on the outside as well. Dante Fowler. So I got to give the advantage to the Dallas Cowboys because they're going to come in waves. They're going to have fresh bodies in and out of that lineup.
Yeah, taking a look at some of the sack leaders for the Cowboys so far this season. You talk about waves. There's your waves. Parsons, Armstrong, Lawrence, Dante Fowler Jr., and then you've got Donovan Wilson down there at the bottom. One of those things is not like the other in terms of the 4 of the 5 names there being defensive linemen, and then the other one being a safety. And Donovan Wilson, you know a little bit about
just
getting in the backfield.
Shout out to the safety crew.
Got to have some fun with it. Speaking of fun, let's go back out to AT&T Stadium where our very own Nick Eatman now joins Stephen Jones.
Thanks, guys. And you're right, I'm here with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer, and crowd's getting kind of crazy here at AT&T Stadium. File in. Everybody want to see Dak. You think that's what everyone is hoping to see is just how well he plays. That's why everybody's so anxious in this game.
Well, I think it's outstanding to just have him back. The energy, the leadership, everything he brings to the table. Bigger thing we got to monitor here is make sure he's not too fired up. Because he's got to be steady in the boat out there. But it is great to have him back. It's outstanding to see this crowd on a noon game already piling in here. So it's going to make for a great day, hopefully, and it's going to be great having 4 back out there leading this football team, and look forward to our defense staying with it. This is a good offensive football team we're going up against, Of course, Dan Campbell played here. He's got so much great energy and leadership, and I know he'll have his guys ready.
Well, he talked about it in his opening press conference a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, biting kneecaps and how they're going to scratch and claw and fight. That when you know that a game like that, do your guys get ready for that as well, knowing that this type of team, doesn't matter what talent they have, they're going to come here ready to fight?
Well, they pay their guys too, and they've been in some real close games. If you've watched them, I enjoy watching Dan's teams, and they'll come in here ready to play. And we all got the same salary cap, and they've got some good talent on that side of the ball, and we'll have our hands full here today.
Now, you got a Lion of your own here in Micah Parsons, and he doesn't seem too happy about the way he played, the way the defense played last week. What did you see from practice by the way that they are kind of getting ready to turn the corner here this week?
Well, it just seemed like all week we were dialed in. The defense with Dan's leadership, they were dialed in, ready to roll, and then, of course, Dak just brings that natural leadership and energy when he's in a uniform. It's as Michael Irvin used to say, it's hard to be a leader when you're not out there playing. And certainly I think we're going to see an uptick here in our energy and how we play the game.
All right, well, I'll let you get back to it here. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. We appreciate it. Kyle, well, back to you.
Nick and Steven from out there on the sidelines at AT&T Stadium. As we wrap things up here on Cowboys Pregame Live, it's time now for the keys to the game. Cowboys need a win. They're a couple games back in the division, currently in third place behind the Giants and the Eagles, but they played well to this point in the season. Long schedule still to be played out in the NFC East, but win today would certainly go a long way. How do the Cowboys get to 5-2?
Defensively, they've got to force Detroit to be one-dimensional. If Detroit's able to get that ground game going as well as that pass game going, I think it'll be a lot tougher game than it should be. And offensively, take care of the football. During that 5-game stretch with Cooper Rush, they did an amazing job taking care of the football. I only think he had 3 interceptions that last game, but leading up to that, 0 interceptions. So take care of the football, and you should get a victory today.
I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to go get the lead, keep the lead. Okay. Do not allow Detroit to get ahead. I don't want to see Dak having to throw the ball 40 times. I don't want to see our offense stressing to try to work the ball down the field and make big plays. Let everybody just work it and move the chains down the field, but you have to get ahead more than a field goal, Nate.
Keep it simple. Third down. We're at 32%. Let's get that up around 45. Let's start our time of possession. Let's get that up from 28 up to about 32. That keeps their defense off the field. We'll take this game. We'll crush them by 3.
Ooh, by 3?
Yeah.
Wow, by 3? Okay. Usually his prediction is Cowboys by 1, so that's a massive turnaround for Pete Newton. How about that? Hope you had some fun with us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Today we'll be back with Cowboys OT and Game Night to break it all down for you following the final whistle for Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, for Nick Eatman and Haley Sutton and our entire Dallas Cowboys crew. I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. Cowboys Lions noon kickoff on CBS.